Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
Yeah!
We got it! We got it!
New 52 book.
Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to Comics League Movie Night. I am Jared. I'm here with Nick from the Phoenix Press. What's up, brother?
Perimeter breach at visitor checkpoint.
Yeah, nice. And I'm here with Teladia Plays. What's up, brother?
You're an animal, Wolverine. You always will be an animal.
Nice. I love that. So we are going to talk about X-Men 2, X-Men United, and
AK the final when they finally let them let loose.
yeah, and Joseph. Okay. Where is this? Oh yeah.
Why did you say that name?
I had to. And yes, X2 is the best X-Men movie, right? They are like by a massive margin.
I
So
mean, I will say, First Class comes close, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. So beginning for this is heavily based on the storyline God Loves, Man Kills from the comics. Now, here's the thing about that. Here's the change, but it's a change that I don't necessarily hate. Stryker in the book is like one of those televangelist anti-mutant pastors. In this, he's a military soldier, which I'm fine because it further links him to Wolverine. So I'm like, okay, that works. But I wish the movie costumes were more like the cartoon. Yeah, this was back during the time when they thought that the suits, the cartoon suits wouldn't work. But it's kind of funny.
Black leather.
Yeah, they made a joke about that in X-Men 97. And I'm like,
I loved hearing that. That made me happy.
And they thought leather was cool. So
well, it was
also you got to realize this was made in a post-Matrix world.
And also, yeah, exactly. And that also led to the comics costumes in the Grant Morrison era being like black leather. So I kind of get what they were going for. This is kind of in the direction that a lot of these
try firemen lets it take off.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, now that you see like the Deadpool 3 Wolverine suit, you're like, yeah, they could have made it work.
It's all about confidence because you got to realize these people weren't like, oh, I don't want to run around looking like a freaking cartoon. You know, there wasn't really as much of a respect for the source material that there is now.
Yeah, but Dave says Days of Future Past is better. Same thing with CG Anime Man. That's good. Yeah, let me put it this way. I Days of Future Past for me, it's tied with X2 as the best.
You know what's funny is the movies actually had an impact on the comics because if you go and read Ultimate X-Men, which came out after the first X-Men film, they're essentially wearing the movie suits in the comics.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Also, I believe it had an impact on X-Men Evolution, the cartoon show.
Yeah, because when you look at the characterization of the X-Men there, it's kind of that. Only X-Men Evolution, the characters are slightly younger. Like they're still in high school at that point.
I think originally they had more colorful costumes, and then they changed it in like the second season, or was it the other way around?
I think.
I want to say it was. I think it was because like Wolverine had his classic costume in the first season, but in the second season he had more of his movie costume.
Yeah. Mark Millar's Ultimate X-Men run was awesome. I heard it's really good. So I may check it out.
I like the original run, like the first those that was really good. That made that vintage for me.
But the cartoon was surprisingly deep. They could have made it work. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with. We'll see about that. But
also, the X-Men Evolution theme song kicks so much butt.
Yeah, the X-Men have always had fantastic animated themes. So
Thanks, Ron.
yes, exactly. So this movie starts off with a tour of the White House, and this immediately, yeah, that's one way to put it. This immediately shows you how awesome he is, because it starts off with Nightcrawler attacking the White House, but they have this really cool like teleportation scene. And you know, it's kind of funny. The teleportation effects in this movie really hold up really well.
I like how they're using kind of like an operatic score. It just kind of adds to like the drama and like the epicness of it.
Yeah, and it makes the movie seem more serious and less cartoony. So I'm sure that's one of the things about it. But he's like attacking, and one of the things I like is that when he like stabs the thing into the president's desk and gets like shot from behind, if you notice, his tail also reacts like it's being shot, as if the tail is its own autonomous entity.
Yeah.
I really like how they did that. So, by the way, Alan Cummings, who was Nightcrawler, left the franchise after this movie because the crew believed it wasn't worth going through the long preparation. This also includes the fact that Cummings did not enjoy putting on the heavy makeup because his appearance was minimal. So it was written in the video game that Nightcrawler decided to leave because he no longer wanted to live the violent lifestyle that X-Men had to endure.
I mean, in his defense, X-Men 3 was already so stacked with people that it wasn't worth putting him in a chair for 8 hours just to stick him in the corner.
Yeah. I can see that. Lady Deathstrike was awesome. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, that was really cool. And so then we get more of like we get to like the X-Men, and they're in like a museum. And the cool part about this, so they were like actually they were teasing Phoenix all the way in X1 if you're paying attention. But here it's kind of like ever since the like attack on the Liberty statue, Gina's not been like 100%.
Yeah, the other thing I like is these movies, especially the school stuff, they hide so many mutants to where like if you know, you know.
Like I think Jubilee is in this, I think.
Yeah, he's actually in all 3 movies, played by 3 separate actresses. And actually, in this movie, he's actually named for the first time, where they actually say the name Jubilee. But that's later on in the movie. But Jared, did you notice that the first shot was a kid touching a Sabretooth?
Interesting.
Yeah, I just love it because like there's a lot of like background details, especially if you notice like they're talking about like the Cro-Magnons replacing the Neanderthals, basically using that as a metaphor for mutants and Homo sapiens. Like it's one of those things where if you're not like looking for it, you don't realize the symbolism they're doing there.
Yeah, exactly. So Teladia, let me ask you this: what's your thought on the opening of X2? And Teladia's muted, so while he gets unmuted, Nick, so before we continue, since this was your pick for a movie for movie night, what made you pick this movie?
Well, this movie has always kind of had a special place in my heart. I saw it in theaters with my father, so that's a treasured memory. And also, it was my first DVD. Okay.
On stone tablets?
God dang it. No, and I got this DVD before I even had a DVD player. So the way it worked is we had Christmas Eve at my Nana's house, and then Christmas Day at my family's. So I got the DVD the night before, and then the next day I got a DVD TV, which for a early 2000s teenager was a really good gift. Oh God, I'm dating myself hard.
Yes, you are. So, Barry Dave says should have brought Sabretooth and Toad back. Well, Toad was busy recovering from being chopped in half in episode 1.
Well, the thing is, Toad found out what happens when he gets struck by lightning.
The same thing that happens to everyone else.
God dang it, Jared! You stole my thunder. You stole my love and thunder.
Yeah, don't mention that movie. So Teladia, you in the opening for.
Oh.
Hmm?
Oh, okay. What did you say? Because you froze up on my end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your thoughts on the opening for X2?
Oh, what an opening! What an opening! Like you had like it was so like the graphics and everything was so cool, and like obviously it was like for an early 2000s film, it it definitely it still lives up to this day, right? It hasn't like it's not gonna update. It's aged fine, like a fine wine. For I believe it's like what over 20 years old now.
I think this might be the film's 20th anniversary because the film came out in 2004, I believe.
Ah, nice.
Nice. So
no, I think it came out in 2004, 2003.
The movie came out in 2003.
So yeah, okay. It is over 20 years old. So Teladia is correct.
So for over a 20-year-old film, it has aged well, especially with the opening and the graphics, like for that time period. And
it's kind of like Iron Man, where they did the CGI in such a way that, like, yeah, there are some stuff that like doesn't hold up, but most of the stuff actually holds up remarkably well.
The reason why a lot of films from this era hold up is it's kind of we're in the transition period where we hadn't gone fully CG yet. So there's still a lot of people using like for example, this film used miniatures. And it used like real practical sets, and like they had a lot of real practical effects on this movie. And because of the type of characters using where they're like punching and kicking each other. Like, I'm just coming out and say this. Cyclops' optical blasts kind of do not hold up. Like, they're fine for the film, but they look very dated. Like, they're fine.
They do. That's one of the effects where I'm like, I get it looks fine, but yeah, compared to what we have now, it's like,
Like, for example, Nightcrawler is a guy in makeup. Nowadays, Nightcrawler would be CG. But because he's a guy in a makeup chair, and this is a time where you still had very talented makeup artists working in the industry, you could pull that off.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to Magneto. I mean, we see him. He's in a plastic prison. And the thing about this, so Stryker is trying to like kidnap Professor Charles Xavier. His end game is to take out the mutants. So the way he's going to do that is, so he has this solution that he like pours into the back of like a mutant's neck that allows him to essentially mind control him. It's a mind control serum. So he orchestrated the attack on the White House by Nightcrawler so that the president would authorize a strike on Charles Xavier's school because Stryker was holding Magneto and got him to like spill the beans about what really goes on at that school. And this starts a big like CGI cameo fest where
dude. We need to wind up here. We need to talk about the lead up to this battle. So you got Logan. He's talking to Iceman in the kitchen. And he does the most practical use of mutant powers ever. And then he like the guy comes in and like, you came to the wrong house, bub. And what I love, okay, now we can get to that scene. Sorry, I had like that is an excellent scene, and I had to like talk about it.
So, if you're paying attention, you know who a lot of these people are. Like when the soldiers come into that girl's room and then she screams, that's Siren. So to Nick's point, if you know who these, if you know the base, if you know the mutants, a lot of these cameos are like, oh, okay, I know you. And even with like Colossus, if you notice, he holds up pretty well because whenever Colossus is out, it's dark, so you don't really. So they're able to like get away with a lot more.
It's a bit sketchy, but yeah, it's fine enough.
Yeah, like put this way, they do enough about it where it looks somewhat dated, but it doesn't look as dated as it should.
Yeah.
Again, they're having tricks. They're doing all these tricks to like mitigate how things are. So the plan is to get all the kids out of the mansion. By the way, the one thing I think is hilarious. How funny would it be to like be the mutant that can change a channel by blinking?
I mean, I think his powers are more than that, but you're also kind of forgetting the best part of the scene.
Go ahead.
Wolverine goes from stealth mission to F stealth.
Yeah. Even when
we get to see a berserker rage Logan, and he rages for like the best possible reason.
Because he's protecting his second family. Even when my favorite Wolverine moment in the scene is when a Rogue, Bobby, and Pyro are cornered. He just jumps off the stairs and is like stabbing everyone, and then he like
and they did that for real.
Oh yeah.
Like, the best part is they did that for real. Like he actually jumped down onto a pad.
And again, when you use a lot of practical effects, a lot of the stuff actually holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
At least the X-Men didn't have a Lois Lane character. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Thank you, Randy. Never feel sorry for bashing Lois. Hey, what's up, Josh? Love it.
Well, we gotta wait till first class, and then more McTaggart comes in.
Yeah, no, she is not a Lois Lane. Anyone play X2, the official game that bridged the story between 9 and the Last Stand? Yes, I did. I liked it. It was really cool. I actually had it for my 360 at one point. I should try and rebuy that. We can all agree that Siren was the MVP, right? Girl saved everyone. Oh yeah, she woke everyone up. Yeah.
I guess you could say she turned on the siren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So
sorry, there's so many jokes a little time.
Yes, there are. So a lot of them. So then Logan comes face to face with Stryker. And remember, at this point, Logan has no idea who he is. They're still playing that off. And what's cool about this movie is, again, it's a Closet Wolverine movie because it's when you look at his arc from the beginning of the movie to the end, it's complete. It's all the hero's journey. It's like poetry. It rhymes. So then, he learns that Stryker knows who he is and everything. And then Iceman kind of saves Wolverine by creating an ice wall. Yeah, go ahead.
You know that scene where like Stryker puts his hand, then Wolverine does the same? Mm-hmm. That is an homage to Wrath of Khan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Another fun fact is, you notice how Pyro's lighter had shark teeth?
Mm-hmm.
That was a shout out to Jaws.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I know
this is why you bring me on. I have all the factoids.
Yes, exactly. And so they escape. Now, I love how they escape. To start Cyclops' car, Wolverine uses one of his claws. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much Wolverine. And I wonder...
That car is a modified Mazda RX-7, by the way. RX-8, sorry.
Okay. The other thing I like to think it's the metal claw referencing that scene in X1. So I'm like, yeah, he's giving Cyclops the middle claw. He's like, psh. And I like how like the X phone comes out of the dashboard. No one knows how to use it. So you may be wondering also, where's Jean and Storm? So Jean and Storm are going after Nightcrawler because Professor X was able to track him via Cerebro. And by the way, the Cerebro is the key to all this, as will be revealed later. So they rendezvous with Nightcrawler. And what's kind of cool is that when Storm is talking to Nightcrawler, you get to learn more about Kurt's character and the fact that a lot of the tattoos are like one for every sin, and his body's covered. And he goes, yes, I've sinned a lot.
So okay, if you're going to do the line, do it right. One for every sin. So quite a few. And then also, so normally they just did like the head makeup and that took like 8 hours. That day, it took 16 hours in the makeup chair for like the chest stuff.
16 hours.
My God.
I remember on the DVD they actually had like a time lapse of the makeup, and it was wild.
That's pretty much like watching the Snyder Cut 4 times. I should do that. But anyway, so then you led to, so they're gone. and they have the X-Jet. So Wolverine and his crew are like, okay, so where can we go? So eventually they go to what actually ends up being Iceman's parents' house. And this is where the movie actually does pretty well, being an analogy for like oppressed groups. So
I mean, before that, we get a really cold kiss.
But they haven't gotten to the place yet. So what I do like is the way the actor plays it off is that they kind of tease that like Bobby's not really like cool going home because he's like, oh, that's where my parents live. And then he's kind of like on edge the whole time.
Yeah.
And then so Rogue and Bobby try to kiss, and it goes about as well as you would think, which I'm like, this is going to happen.
Well, the first kiss, the first kiss is fine. Like, can I just say, I just love the way the scene shot where like it's going to be fine. Then they kiss and she smiles and like the ice comes out of her mouth. Like that is a very well shot scene. Mm-hmm. But also it communicates he put the ice on his lips. Like, I love how they didn't come out and say it. But the problem is they got way too into the kiss. Like, oh crap! I needed to reapply my ice chap.
Ice chap, nice. So you could say she got frostbit.
Well, Bobby certainly did.
He's a frostbiter. So then,
so
then we get.
You notice how the posters in Bobby's wall are snowboarding.
Jared, I think you should let Nick do the puns because that pun wasn't that good.
No comment. So then we get
Teladia,
another.
That was cold. That was cold, bro.
We get another funny Wolverine moment where Logan of course, Logan. He has like
Professor of.
I'm not there yet. So then Logan is in the kitchen, and I like how he doesn't have like any like manners. He just goes into the fridge and starts grabbing stuff. So he's drinking milk. A cat makes a noise behind him, and he like puts out his claws, and then the cat is like licking milk off the claws.
Jared, you don't realize Wolverine isn't housebroken yet.
Yeah, I know. So then Bobby's home. Family comes home, and then we start getting a lot of the like world building, and they actually bring up some interesting stuff there, like how the X gene is passed from the father and not the mother. So
it's kind of like an insult. Like they play it off as kind of like an insult, but
yeah. And then for Nick's joke, I like when they ask, so what are you a professor of? Art. He could have said history, but I guess art works. That's great.
So I feel like this is kind of an important time to talk about. This movie is very much a product of its time, and that includes the politics. Because like when they say, "Have you tried not being a mutant?" This film is really kind of going off of like the "don't ask, don't tell" kind of era of things, where a lot of people were like, "All right, don't talk about it, so I don't have to acknowledge it or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this scene was directly made to be a coming out scene. It's very obvious from how it's presented. They have confirmed it. And to me, it's just showing how mutants are a representative of all repressed minority groups, including gay people, racial stuff, and literally anybody. XMen is a commentary on all oppressed people, not just one particular thing, and that's kind of the problem I had with like modern X-Men discourse. It's like whatever flavor of the month.
Yeah, and it's one of those debates where literally everyone is right when they say it's an analogy for this or this. It's an analogy for literally everything.
Yeah, and by the way, can we just comment? This scene is very well done. Like I wouldn't classify this scene as woke.
No, it's not, because here's the thing about. And what's up, Tavia? Because here's the thing about it. Yeah, and this is why I've long said, even before, even the early days of Comics League, that X-Men is the gold standard for addressing political issues in media, because Dave's point, they're an analogy for all outsiders. Because the way you do it and make it sound like less like in your face is you make it as general as possible, like just oppressed people. yeah, that's fine, because everyone, any group at any point could be oppressed. So you make it apply to the broadest audience possible.
See, here's the thing. This is like one of those scenes that the left would point and say, if this film came out today, the right would say it's too woke, and be like, actually, no. Because, like, we've gotten very similar scenes in X-Men 97.
Yeah.
And actually, dare I say, X-Men 97 was a bit more heavy-handed than this scene, and we still gave X-Men 97 a pass. Even though X-Men 97 was a bit more heavy-handed and not as subtle as this. So I think if this movie had come out today, we would be praising it for how it handled the scene.
Yeah, because here's the thing about X-Men 97. Yeah, it goes heavy-handed, but most of the time, I would argue, it still keeps it as general as possible.
It doesn't cross the line.
It doesn't. So, and that's the thing about earlier X-Men comics and media, is that that's what it used to do. Although,
shout out to Bob Mayo, like, he included the theme, but he knew when to rein it in. So respect to him.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, 100% respect to him. And they did confirm that season 2 is going to respect his plans for it. So we know we have a pretty good indicator that season 2 is going to be really good. So there you go with that.
Mark, though.
Yes, we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, these people need to stop calling everything. Well, but Tavia, we weren't talking about those people, Tavia. So X-Men 2 is such a great. Yeah. Again, the black suits is like something I ignore because it's a product of its time. That's why. But so then what's kind of cool about this is that the one brother is like jealous of all of a sudden he's getting all the attention. Bobby's getting all the attention. So he goes and calls the cops on the mutants and basically lies and says that they're not allowing us to leave the house. And then we get this really funny scene. So the X-Men are going to leave, and Wolverine has his claws out, and then the cop goes, "Drop the knives! I can't!"
And then, honestly, we get a really epic scene with Pyro. Like, you know those dangerous mutants you hear about on TV? I'm the worst one.
Yeah, and then Wolverine is slowly like healing from the gunshot wound to the head. Then I love when they're leaving, and then the cop that shot him in the head is looking at him like, "Wait a second, whoa!"
No, even better. Like, he just gets up, and he just like cracks his head and just moves forward. It's great.
And just imagine that thing never happened. Like it just imagined. Wolverine just imagine that. Oh yeah, it never happened. So just carried on.
Because the bullet, you got to realize that bullet is basically a flesh wound to him, because if it went to his forehead, it hit the adamantium skull. So it basically was barely feel your skull right now. It's just skin and then the skull. So it just went in, hit the skull, it was barely did any damage.
And that's why in X-Men Origins Wolverine, the adamantium bullet wiped his memory, because you got to imagine that went through the skull.
Yes. Though I find it funny that one adamantium bullet removed his memory, and then another adamantium bullet kills him.
Dave says woke is not the mere presence of liberal or progressive ideas. That's what the wokesters want you to think the word means. Even some anti-woke figures have fallen into the trap. Yeah, and that's why. That's my problem with a lot of channels that market themselves as anti-woke, is that it's gotten to the point where, let me put it this way, Rebel Moon was called woke just because the protagonist is a female. I'm like, that's when it crosses the line, because it's not that, it's when they portray her as the best thing ever.
Agreed, but we're kind of getting into a whole different discussion here.
No, but I just wanted to briefly discuss that. I just wanted
Fair enough. I'm just trying to keep the discussion going on.
I know. And then Rogue also so Rogue depowers Pyro. Well, she also does that to because Pyro controls fire, so she essentially takes over his powers to
I really like that from a character standpoint, that Rogue is starting to get confident enough with her powers to actually use them. He was afraid of her powers for so long, and now she's actually using them in a productive manner. So I liked it just from the character beat perspective.
Yeah. And then so they take off in the X-Jet, and then they're being chased by fighter jets. And I love where they go, oh, they must have gotten alerted because what happened at the house. And then Logan goes to Pyro. I wonder whose fault that is.
Also, can we just like shout out? I love like the epic scenes. Like, you got any weapons on this heap? Instantly cut the storm. Her eyes go white.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love the suspense building. Like, I every time I hear that scene plays out, I think to myself, just one.
They kind of homage that in X-Men 97 where Cyclops goes, give them the forecast. And they're like, Omega level threat detected. And Storm just walks up. The music starts. That is so cool. The music just starts swelling. And then it's like the lightning's coming down. You don't even see Storm fully. But anyway, this is a discussion nice time. But Nick, I agree with you. That is fantastic. It's like, yeah, we got one. She's kind of powerful. And then she starts like 3 tornadoes. And again,
I will say this, though. Mm-hmm. This scene does not hold up. Like, the CG in this scene does not hold up. Like, it's passable. Like, it's fine. Like, it's not like, oh my God, this is terrible. But it looks dated.
So it's not Flash. But
actually, I would say the CG here looks better than the Flash. But, you know.
That doesn't say a lot, but okay. But
I mean, yeah.
So, long story short, they take out the jets non-lethally. But a missile makes it through. And so Jean is going to like take out the missile. But the problem is her powers are on the fritz because the Phoenix is breaking out. So it doesn't work. And then the jet is crashing. And then all of a sudden it just stops. And there's Magneto. So it turns out Magneto didn't.
People learn how to fly.
Yes, exactly. Magneto doesn't like. But I like how they build to Magneto. It's like they're falling, then all of a sudden the hole in the X-jet is repaired. So it's like one thing after another, and then it stops, and then he says the line, and it turns out Magneto doesn't like being told what to do. So he's essentially like, yeah, I'm gonna help you, because he kidnapped Charles, he kidnapped Cyclops. That's the other thing. Cyclops doesn't have a lot to do in this movie.
So you're saying the X-Men are united?
Yeah, exactly. Although Magneto wasn't an X-Men, so that's kind of they could have called it X2 Mutants United, but I get that they had to have the word X-Men in the title. So I'm like, all right, fine. But so then we get an interesting like strategizing scene in front of a fire, and I liked the sort of interactions that Mystique had with Nightcrawler, even though, based on their interactions, it's very unlikely that Mystique is his mom in this universe.
Actually, that scene was intended to hint at that. Like that scene was specifically written to kind of be like a nod to that relationship. I'm not saying it's confirmation, but it was more just they were aware of the connection, and that scene was more just like tip of the hat.
Let me put it this way: it could have been better done if they wanted to like point at that. But
also, shout out to Rebecca Romaine. Mm-hmm. She is really great in this movie. Also, I want to talk about like an earlier scene we had, where the security guard for Magneto is at a bar, and he meets like a beautiful woman, played by Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, she has since called that her favorite 2 days on set. I mean, I wonder why. And then she basically injects him with iron. I love that whole escape scene. Because
when he's flying, he's doing the pose from the comic/animated series when he's flying.
Oh yeah.
I just love like it's basically like the knife and the cake kind of thing. And just he's like, Mr. Logan, never trust a beautiful woman, especially one that's interested in you. Like,
his name is not Logan, it's Delorio. Stop having old man moments.
Oh my god.
You're having old apocalypse, ancient mutant.
Well, I'm gonna cancel the apocalypse, so screw you.
Yeah. So I like their plan. So what they do is, for a distraction, Mystique goes in disguised as Wolverine. Like Wolverine essentially gave himself up. And I like how Stryker immediately knows that's not Wolverine, because like Mystique smiles, and then she turns into Mystique, opens the door, and then I like how like you don't necessarily see the X-Men yet. The door opens, and then there's like a thunderstorm in the mountain.
Dude, dude, you missed the best shot.
Yeah.
As the door's closing, she's sliding. She gives him the finger as she's leaving.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like that.
Dude, you gotta like get the good stuff.
Yeah. So, what do you want to say, Teladia?
I remember that. I remember like that scene. I think that was cool. How Mystique, changed into Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I
And then
felt
change
that.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that was like a really cool way of them disguising themselves and getting into the facility or whatnot. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love like you see Stryker coming. It's like we got a metamorph on the loose. It could be anyone. The guy says anyone, and then Stryker knocks him over with like a thing and some Mystique. I like how they play with that. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I'm just gonna say this: Rebecca Romaine is better than Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, that's
You're
not
not wrong.
exactly a high bar. So then Cyclops attacks the X-Men, but Jean Grey decides, okay, I'll distract Cyclops. You go deal with this. So she's fighting Cyclops, and again, by the way, yeah. The whole trilogy kind of did Cyclops dirty because he's portrayed as kind of an a-hole. And you know what's kind of funny? When after the first episode of 97 aired, people were like talking to Bo DeMayo saying, "Thank you for making Cyclops a badass." And then Bo's like, "You know, he was always a badass, right?"
Well, the thing is, we basically been saddled with like 20 years of bad Cyclops because for 20 years, this was the only version.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Apocalypse version did no favors. Like the Apocalypse, the version of we got in like X-Men Apocalypse was just as much of a wet blanket as the Jason Marsden version, which really sucks because if you see Jason Marsden and other things, he can play that great Cyclops. He has it in him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he never got a chance to shine.
You know what's kind of funny? Have you noticed that in the past 2 times Marsden has played a superhero, he's gotten his girlfriend stolen by another superhero? Well, he wasn't a superhero in Superman Returns, but same idea. I love how he can't escape that.
no, he can't.
So they find Charles Xavier, and so
Private chat.
yeah. So essentially, yeah, exactly. So they find Charles Xavier. So Stryker's plan is he's going to use because they basically build up earlier in the movie when we first see Cerebro that if Charles Xavier concentrates, he could kill someone. So the idea is that Stryker's son William, who has like mind control powers, but is also like
mind
vegetable
esque.
yeah, he's going to use his powers to make Charles Xavier use a fake Cerebro. Well, the Cerebro 2, if you will, and essentially find all the mutants and like concentrate hard. So that's when you have like a bunch of mutants like having like headaches. And what's kind of cool when you see Mystique, her body is like constantly changing because her powers are going haywire because of the concentration. It's really cool how they do that.
Mm-hmm.
So then Magneto gets into Cerebro, and he has Mystique. So he stops the guy from he stops Charles, but then he has Mystique impersonate Stryker and tell William to find all the humans. So that was actually really, really, really cool. I like that.
So basically, Magneto said, "No more humans."
Mm-hmm, kind of. And
House
then,
of H.
And then, why not go with the plan to kill mutants? Why not go with Sentinels? It's easier like this way, Tevye. It's faster and cheaper to just have a mutant make a mutant's head explode as opposed to build giant robots.
To be honest,
yeah. So
like,
then,
if it's the giant Sentinel shows up and murders people, that's gonna raise some questions. But if all the mutants die, like sure, it's suspicious, but it's easier to sweep under the rug.
yeah. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. So Stryker tries to escape in a helicopter, but Magneto gets to him. And like when you see him again later in the movie, he's like wrapped up in a chain. And it's like really like, oh, man, that's brutal. So Then Wolverine walks into the room where the adamantium was like infused into him. And you get his origin. So basically, he was a soldier who volunteered for this program, and they basically put the adamantium in him and stuff. So it's I really like it. So they were essentially kind of doing X-Men Origins before X-Men Origins.
I mean, also, did you look at the printouts on the side? Like, there's Archangel. You know, there's like a lot of Easter eggs. Oh, also,
that was on the computer screen, though.
Speaking of Easter eggs, no, like on like the different X-rays in that room. But talking about the computer screen, when Mystique is breaking into the government office,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
that was earlier in the movie. When she's breaking into the office, the computer screen, there's a bunch of Easter eggs, like Mur Island. It's mentioned.
I have a list here. I'll name a few of them. Remy LeBleu, Eric Lancashire, Madrox, the multiple man, essentially. Wanda and Pietro, Kevin McTaggart, Daniel Moonstar, Aurora Monroe, Hank McCoy, Vector Creed, Roberto DaCosta, Bobby Drake, Fred Dukes, Copycat, Deadpool, Cyclops, Dazzler, the Von Struckers. And so, if you read through all of that, in fact, by the way,
Hank McCoy's in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, and by the way, fun fact: one of the things in the on the computer screen is Operation Zero Tolerance. So that's kind of interesting when we do that.
No, Jared. Like, Beast actually is in this movie.
Yeah, I acknowledge that.
So when they're in the bar on the TV screen, when you have the people debating, that's Hank McCoy. Like, if you listen closely, they call him Mr. McCoy.
Mm-hmm. And I think they even have it like on the screen as his little tag.
See, that's what I love about the movie. There's all these little details, all these little Easter eggs. I love this era of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. And then so the idea is now that, all right. So then Wolverine fights Deathstrike. Oh, it's really cool.
By the way, she's never actually called Deathstrike in the film.
But we know who that is. And it's kind of funny. All right. In the comics, here's what I didn't learn. Here's what they don't hint at all in this. You know who Deathstrike actually is?
Who?
That's the woman that Wolverine almost married.
Yeah, I think like the character from the Wolverine, Yukio, is actually was originally the woman who became Deathstrike.
Yeah, that's who that was. I know why they didn't like go with that, because that'd be too much stuff you got to explain later.
What's actually kind of interesting is there's only one instance where she's actually named, where Stryker says, "Oh, and this is my assistant Yuriko."
Yeah,
that is the and then Kelly Hugh, the lady who plays Deathstrike, has one line in this movie when Mystique is trying to escape. Kelly Hugh's character says, "What are you doing?" That is her one line in the movie.
It said, by the way, on that scene, the two janitors, in other words, Mystique and the actual janitor, they're actually twin brothers.
Yeah.
That's how they filmed that. They just got them to walk past each other. So I'm like, okay, to Nick's point, that's why this is really good, because because of the technology, they had to rely on all these other tricks that actually, because nowadays, like Nick said earlier, that would have been like a CGI clone of the guy.
You want to know what's hilarious?
What?
So Sean Ashmore, the actor who plays Iceman, has an identical twin brother. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Ashmore. But in the scene from the first movie, they didn't actually use his twin brother. They used camera tricks for that.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is in the commentary, somebody points it out to Bryan Singer. He says, "I wish someone would have told me. Could have saved a lot of money."
Yeah, exactly. And Tevia, yeah, she was mind controlled, because they show you a shot of her neck when Stryker's in like the plastic prison, and yeah, she does have one of those marks.
I mean, also the other thing is when Wolverine puts the adamantium injector inside her abdomen.
I'm getting there.
All right.
So they fight, and what's really cool, what's really funny about it is that Wolverine is kind of getting his ass kicked. And it gets to the point where, like, they're on this rafter, and Deathstrike is under him, and she's like stabbing him rapid fire. So the way he stops it is he cuts the chain, and she falls into the water. She gets back up, and then he stabs her in the gut with the adamantium injector and puts all of it in there.
Well, you're kind of missing the cool part about this fight is they both have healing factors. Like, I love like that moment where like Wolverine thinks he's won, and then like she just smiles at him as like the cuts heal. It's like, oh shoot. And so like because they both have healing factors, they have an excuse just constantly stab each other, constantly like go at each other. So the fight is brutal, but it's kind of okay because they have healing factors. And I think that just makes the scene even better.
Yeah. So the way he beat, so the funny thing about it, so he like injects her where the stuff and like puts all of it. It gets to the point where it's like coming out of her eyes like tears. Then when she finally dies, it has this comedic moment where when she falls back, you just hear a clunk.
Oh, I got to rewind a bit. So it's really tragic because he shoves the injector into her, and like you see her, and like her eyes go brown. Like you see her eyes go brown for a moment before the adamantium. It's like it's kind of meant to say like there was a human woman inside of her. You didn't, like it's a tragedy. It's meant to be a tragedy. You're meant to be like you feel bad about like he had to do it, but it wasn't her fault.
Like the mind control weared off at that moment.
Yeah, and she kind of looked at him, and just like the horror on her face. It's a very.
And then, so cut back to Jean and Cyclops. So what happens is Cyclops like blasting her with his optic beams, and then Jean Grey's like Phoenix powers manifest and like causes this like feedback loop that like causes this big blast, and that weakens the dam that they're in, and that will pay off later in the movie. So, and then I like how even Jean's like, something's wrong. Like even she knows like, what did I just do? And so then the X-Men find the room where Charles Xavier's in. And so I love this scene. So Storm tells Nightcrawler to teleport them in. And they establish that the rules for Cyclops' powers is that he has to see where he's going or have been there before, because otherwise he can
powers.
Yeah, I said Nightcrawler.
No, you said Cyclops.
Okay, so it's the way to. So it's the. What was I saying? Oh yeah, they establish the rules for his powers are he has to see where he's going or have to have been there before, because he could materialize into a wall. So I like the like tension where Storm's like, no, I trust you. So he's hugging her, and as he's hugging her, he's doing the Our Father, like, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. He teleports in, and obviously he's fine. So it kind of like, so now he knows that. So now he knows he can do that if he had to. And I like so Stryker's son finds them, and then he starts having them hallucinate that it's just a little girl in there. So the way Storm stops the mind control is she like causes the room to get really, really, really cold. And then so then at this point the dam starts falling apart, and so they teleport out, and then they just leave Jason there, and I'm like, well, that's kind of an a-hole thing, but I can see what you're going for.
Yeah.
And then this is the culmination of Wolverine's arc. So Wolverine finds Stryker, and Stryker essentially says you'll always be like an animal or something like that. You'll never find acceptance. So Wolverine says, I'll take my chances with them. And it's basically Wolverine saying, I don't care where I'm from. I have a home now.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay.
I love like the ending scene where like the boy sticks his tongue out at him.
Yeah, I love that. That's great
with the blue tongue or whatever. Yeah.
So,
by the way, they called him Artie. I think that was Leech.
Oh, okay. No. Leech is in the third movie.
Well, Storm calls him Artie in the opening scene. So he's obviously somebody. So.
Yeah, probably. I don't think he's Leech, but yeah, he probably is somebody. So then, Wait, what? Wait, this death was retconned in the X-Men 3 game. Yeah, but the games are rarely, if ever, respected in terms of lore in the movies. So
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
technically, the adamantium injection probably didn't kill her. She would have been in constant pain, healing around the adamantium and unable to move. Interesting. That's terrifying.
I mean, to be fair, one of the few ways to kill Wolverine is to drown him. So if the adamantium didn't kill her, the fact that he was underwater is what killed her. Because drowning is a way to kill Wolverine.
Plus, if you notice, she fell back into the tank with a clunk even before the dam was damaged. So she's definitely dead, at least by drowning.
Like the adamantium might have killed her, but like her being in the tank and then the dam exploding, she dead.
Yeah. So then the dam. So then I like how like the helicopter was stolen by Magneto and Mystique and Pyro, who goes with Magneto instead because
falls to the dark side.
Because earlier in the movie, they basically have it where like Pyro goes, or Pyro's talking to Magneto, and then he goes, "Yeah, I can only manipulate fire. I can't make it." And then Magneto basically says, "You have no idea how powerful you are."
Well, no, what he says is, "You are a god among insects." Never
basically saying what I said. So yeah.
Yeah,
so
I just wanted to quote the exact line. So.
So then, for their escape route, Rogue basically crash lands the freaking X-Jet right into the lake, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And then, as they're powering up, the water's coming at them, and they're not gonna be able to escape. So Jean gets up and is like holding the water back and like lifting the X-Jet, also preventing them from coming to save her. And she basically says goodbye through. She's talking through Charles Xavier, and then she like dies. But if you notice, she's like glowing with Phoenix energy at some point, and more on that in X3. So then the X-Men escape, and Jean's dead. So this is the first time she would die, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an homage to the first to when she died in the beginning of the Phoenix Saga, because if you remember, she was like at the bottom of like I think the rivers in New York at that point when she died in the comics for the Phoenix Saga, and she has an emerge and go, "I am Phoenix." So then so then we cut back to the White House, and the president is about to sign a bill that would I believe it was like one of those. It was an anti-mutant bill. And I like how like everyone freezes in the White House because Charles Xavier can do that. And then it cuts to, and then it was like the lightning starts hitting, and then the X-Men are there. And then Charles Xavier basically talks to the president and says, "Hey, listen, dude, we're here to stay. We're here to help too. We're not all like Magneto and all those people." And that was Stryker. And they even bring proof to him. And then they basically change history with that, and it's another like it's another timeline, if you will, but it's complicated. So then the movie ends with like a crossover with like a voiceover by Jean, and then if you notice the shit as it's flying over Alkali Lake, you see the faint imprint of a Phoenix logo.
I mean, it also should be noted he's doing the speech from the beginning of the first film.
Yeah,
mutation. Is how we evolved from a single cell, like that one.
So you could say it brings it hashtag full circle. It's like poetry; it rhymes.
I mean, I'm certain evolution took a big leap forward, but yeah.
And then literally in the next movie, they take one leap backwards. But so then, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was their last stand. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. So. All in all, pretty dope movie. I've certainly enjoyed it. I think it holds up very well story-wise, and mostly from a CGI perspective, it's pretty good. Again, the tornado scene and Cyclops' optic beams notwithstanding. I also wish we got more Cyclops, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
And so let me go around, and Nick, your favorite scenes from the movie. Let's say your top 5.
All right, so definitely the Nightcrawler scene is high on that list.
Yeah.
The have you tried not being a mutant? It's surreal. Also, you didn't mention the scene between Mystique and Wolverine in the tent.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
where she impersonates Jean Grey and starts to sleep with Wolverine, and then he's taking her shirt off, and then he notices the 3 like stab wounds from the first movie when he like ran her through with his claws.
Yeah, and it's like, who do you really want? And then she turns into Stryker.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So
Yeah.
what else you got?
All right. Definitely the fight between Deathstrike and Wolverine. It's probably, I'd say, one of the highlights of the series for sure. I used to think you're one of a kind, Wolverine. I was wrong. Just how cold that line is. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Magneto's escape. Oh. How many am I at now?
Give me one more.
Okay.
If you can.
Oh, so fun fact. When Xavier is being loaded in, the person whose wheels him in is Bryan Singer, making a cameo in his own movie.
That's not going to age poorly.
I mean, you can't really tell it's him. So
yeah,
Bryan actually makes a cameo in Star Trek Nemesis, which was going on at the time. Trying to think here. I love the part where like Pirate was like, I hate awkward silences, and they start hearing like NSYNC play.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. I like that part.
Cyclops, you have horrible taste in music.
Of course, Cyclops does. How about you, Teladia?
Like, obviously, what Nick said. Nick stole my pick, but I have to go with his his pick, which is I like the tent scene. I like the Nightcrawler scene at the Washington. White House. Sorry, the White House. And I also like the XMen, not XMen. Sorry, the Wolverine. X Mansion scene. That was
Yeah, you picked the wrong house, bub.
Yeah, I like him like raging and it being for a good cause. And like I love just seeing like we only got Colossus for like a brief moment, but they made it count.
Yes, they did, and they did it in an environment that's like easy to get away with like dodgy CGI because it's like dark. So there you go. That was great. What else?
What else is there? Oh, the Lady Deathstroke and Wolverine fight. That was
Strike. That would be cool if it was Wolverine versus Deathstroke. Now that's a fight I would watch.
Kieran, hate to spoil you, but Wolverine wins that 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not saying Deathstroke would win.
Now, if Deathstroke has the Masanume sword, the sword that can kill Wolverine, then I think Deathstroke has a chance. But that's the only scenario.
Well, Deathstroke has used a God Killer sword, so maybe that could help. There was a Kitty Pryde cameo in the movie?
Yes. Yes, there was. In the mansion fight scene, you saw like the girl that goes to the bed and then like goes to the walls of the soldier. That was Kitty Pryde.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So what else you got, Teladia? Give me 2 more.
I would have to say as well the scene where Jean Grey's final scene lifting up the X-Jet. I think that scene, because it was teasing the Phoenix. I think that was cool. And how many do I need? One more?
One more. Just give me one more.
And the final one is the Brian Cox and Logan's interaction at the end. I think that was another scene that I really liked because, like, like his performance as Stryker is really, really cool.
I do like that.
Yeah, basically Brian Cox is like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna go back to hunting Jason Bourne.
Yes, exactly. That's our cinematic universe. So,
so you're saying that William Stryker is the same guy from the Bourne Supremacy?
Yes, I am. So, in terms of my favorite scenes, it's the number one. It's probably the house fight, obviously. Number two, because I'm a big fan of Storm, it's the tornado fight. Because again, like Nick said, that awesome scene where they go, "You have any weapons on this thing?" Hard cut to Storm. I love that.
Oh, it's so good.
3 is the Wolverine Deathstrike fight. 4 is the death of Jean Grey. And 5 is the speech that Charles Xavier gives the president, where he basically goes, it's the most powerful gift we have to bear their pain without breaking, but it comes from the most human of hearts. Like, I love that. That's great.
I love how they kind of bring that back for Days of Future Past.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, but the scene where Charles talks to Charles is probably the greatest scene in the entire series. It's so beautiful.
We'll talk about that movie eventually. Hey, Geek Defense. So that's about like, and Tevia, it's a joke. It's a joke. So anyway. So I think let's talk about this for right now. So all in all, so for first, let's go around and let's rate the movie out of 10. I give it a solid, ignoring the dodgy CGI at times. You know what? Screw it. 10 out of 10. How about you, Nick?
Okay, this is going to come as no surprise, but I'm giving it an 11 out of 10. Just because how good it... Well, for a couple reasons. One, I'm not going to lie, the nostalgia factor, like, I've always loved this movie. It has a special place in my heart, you know. I top it all off. It's just a good movie that's hold up. So, gets a few extra bonus points, so it's an 11 out of 10 movie for me. I'm sorry, I can't hold back on this movie. I freaking love it.
All right, how about you, Teladia?
I give it a 8.5 or a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
Okay, explain your reasoning, sir. I need to hear the rationale.
So, the reason why I put it at 8.5 is because the story revolves around Wolverine. Like, his backstory was really interesting. Like, we never got to see that in the first film, but in this film, it was like, like you got to see the backstory. Also the fact that Cerebral, like Magneto's interaction with Charles and the I forgot what it's called.
Cerebro.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
What you said.
But let me ask you this: why are you taking off a 1.5 to 1 point?
The only issue I had was Cyclops interaction.
Yeah, like, the wasted potential Cyclops. Yeah, I could see that.
That's my only nitpick. Other than that, it's a good film.
I guess you could say he had one eye on the prize.
Nice. So now I think that we're that we talked about that, but overall, fantastic movie. Next week we will be covering Halo Forward Unto Dawn. Yes, that's my pick. I know it's not necessarily a comic book movie, but screw it.
It's your show. Do what you want, sir.
Now what I want to talk about is, and this was a conversation we were talking about pre-stream, is so we talked about in the event, let's say Superman does not perform well enough and Gunn's contract is not renewed, who would we put in charge of DC Studios instead of Gunn? So I'm going to start with Nick. Who do you think should replace Gunn as head of DC Studios? And you can't say, and I know I don't have to tell this crew, but chat, you can't say Zack Snyder because he's not going to, and Deb Snyder's not going to do it. Snyders are not going to do it.
There's only one person who can do the DC Universe proud, and that's Joss Whedon.
That name.
Why did you say that name?
Nope. No, that didn't work out last time. No.
Okay, but no, my serious answer, I want to say Christopher Nolan, but I feel like he wouldn't really be interested in like an advisory role like that. Maybe like one or two movies like here or something, but like overseeing everything, I don't think he's into that.
Tevia, because they went with Jeff Johns, that's why we got the situation with the DCEU. That's not going to work. How much of a flex would that be if they put Bo DeMayo in charge of DC?
Well, Bo DeMayo did say he was a Snyder fan, so.
Yeah, but how much of an FU to Marvel would that be if they go,
Actually,
Bo DeMayo's going to lead our universe?
No, Bo DeMayo does a Teen Titans series.
Ooh. Diane Nielsen, that's a good one. And Tevia, I would agree to half of that. Because if you want Bruce Timm in charge, Batman's going to be sleeping with every 18-year-old in the universe.
No.
Diane Nielsen would work. We need someone that knows how to write movies, no egotistical comic book writers this time. Or we just need someone that's capable of like providing a creative direction in one direction, if you will.
My thing is we need someone who is kind of a bridge between the two worlds of both cinema and comics. Who is knowledgeable enough about the comics to respect it, but is also knowledgeable about the film industry to not get eaten alive.
Or here's what you could also do. You don't necessarily have to have someone that's like really really like a comics head, because you could just do, and here's what I would have done. Don't have like one guy in charge of creative. Have like, a couple of directors and a couple of comic book people.
There needs to be someone calling the shots, though. There needs to be
there would be one guy in the shot saying, "Here's what I want to do. I want to have this big universe that tells this epic story." Okay, so comic book people, what types of movies can we do, and what types of stories can we do? Okay, good. Directors, how do we make that?
I mean, I will say, I actually think it wouldn't be a bad idea, because you know how when the MCU started, they had their story group of the stuff. Like, I think DC having that for their universe wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm not saying they control anything, but they're more purely advisory.
Yeah, Geek Detective. If we put you in charge, every movie would take place in World War II. So I was going to say Christopher Nolan, but yeah, he wouldn't do it. I'm sure he would love to. I'm sure if they asked him, he would direct a movie maybe, but I don't think he would be like the head guy.
I'm very hesitant to put Marvel people in there. Like,
no,
I mean, the only two Marvel people that I'd even trust would be Jon Favreau or the Russo brothers. I mean, the Russo brothers, they are like respectful of DC. Like, I've heard them make comments. I think they even had Zack Snyder on their podcast once, didn't they?
Oh my gosh. Tevia. Just because... Yeah, the Marvel Brain Trust did not fall apart because of the idea of the Brain Trust. It fell apart because Marvel Studios stopped listening to them. It's got nothing to do with the idea of the Brain Trust. Nope, because I know John Kent would be the main character. No one wants that.
Can I give go
ahead.
Good example for someone to put in charge of these a couple of people that they could put in charge of replacing Gunn.
Absolutely.
So in terms of creative, I would say put Scott Snyder and Jim Lee.
In terms of comic book advisors, yeah, I could definitely see that, because they're used to telling. For one thing, they know how to tell like long form stories. Because I mean, Scott Snyder's Batman is the whole thing. Plus, I like the optics of doing that. The main thing would be, yeah, exactly. No, you can't make every movie in the 80s. You can't make every movie in the past.
Okay, I have like this really great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if this is a bit of a tangent left field? So, what if they did a Flash movie, and they had Edgar Wright direct it?
Ooh.
You know that Edgar Wright, his sensibilities are perfect for Flash.
That would actually work.
Think of like the perfectly timed scenes of like the Flash doing his stuff, timed to like obscure music. Like it would work.
That would actually work very well. I would dig that.
And then he hires the lead guy from Baby Driver to be Barry Allen.
I could see him playing Barry, as a matter of fact.
Jared. It's not Grant Gustin. Give me some credit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. He wouldn't be the main character, but we're not doing John Kent, because he cannot be in a movie.
Also, I want to add, the girlfriend from Baby Driver is Iris in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Oh, I love Dave's comment.
I love Dave's comment. Grant Morrison and Chuck Dixon should be on the story group. Hell yeah.
I would put Greg Capullo on the story group as well.
Put me in charge. Lois and Clark's relationship would be strictly platonic and not romantic. Yeah, I agree. Well, first off, Lois would have an antagonistic relationship to Clark that never amounts to anything romantic. There you go. Clark would be with Super Wonder. And guess what? Now Superman is selling and movies. So there you go. Edgar Wright would be good for Plastic Man. I agree. But in terms of head guys, I mean, okay, I could see that. I'm trying to think who would be a good head dude. I would keep the main Trinity couple around. Yeah, but here's the thing, Geek, the detective. Here's what DC doesn't tell you. The Trinity concept is not really a formal concept that DC really respects. It's just like a thing that they invented since Kingdom Come to just say, oh, these three characters like each other. Because when you look at Wonder Woman and Batman, they don't have that much of a relationship together. That's why Wonder Bat doesn't work.
Dude, it's one thing to say Wonder Bat as a relationship doesn't work. But to say they don't have a very strong professional relationship as heroes,
friendship, no.
Or if you look at the comics,
if you look at the comics and the way that they write them, it's more just co-workers and not it's not like Clark and Bruce.
But I still think they have a big amount of respect for each other. And
yes, I never said they didn't. I just said they don't really have this big friendship that everyone thinks they do. It's not like Clark and Bruce. Clark and Bruce have that big bro friendship. Diana, nope, none of those works. Actually,
not even
Batcat works. Batcat works. Diana Trevor doesn't work because Steve Trevor has never been relevant to DC, and Lois tries to be. DC tries to make Lois relevant, but ends up making her into a Mary Sue. That's why.
Imagine Bruce. Imagine Clark and Diana get together. So as a rebound, Lois and Trevor get together.
Okay, and then that movie would be called Lois and Steve United in Irrelevance. There would be altered in terms of personality. No, see, here's the thing. Even if they're different characters, the names it doesn't work anymore because when you look at the way the comics are, there's a reason why a book called Superman, Lois and Clark sold 30,000 as opposed to Superman and Wonder Woman, which was 100,000. So there's a big difference there. Randy says no traditional pairings are predictable and boring, except for Batman Catwoman. I'm willing to say maybe Batman Talia is a thing they play with, but that's the only one.
Jack, can I say something, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, because we're talking about replacing James Gunn, if James Gunn is doing a new 52S universe, have Scott Snyder. You have to have Scott Snyder. You have to have Grant Morrison involved.
Yeah. What I would do,
and bring back Charles Soule and the other guy from Superman and Wonder Woman. You have to get them back.
Yeah, as a Jack Bauer clone. No, but again, Steve Trevor doesn't work in the DC universe. He doesn't work in a world with gods. That's the thing, because what's he gonna do? Shoot him?
Mm-hmm.
But
anyway, it works for Hawkeye.
No, except Hawkeye actually has trick arrows and stuff. Steve Trevor just has guns. That doesn't necessarily work. Anyway, Teladia. Yeah, I agree with you. What they could do, particularly if they're going in a new, and Batman does. Batman has kryptonite and contingency plans to take out the Justice League.
All right,
it's more believable.
I'm handing Trevor a magazine for his gun that has kryptonite tips on it.
All right, fine. He still has to fight Batman and Wonder Woman, who are super fast. He still has to fight Superman, who's faster than a speeding bullet. It's not going to work. One punch from Superman and Steve Trevor's head is decapitated. So anyway, going back to what you said, Teladia, I do agree with you. If they're going in that direction for their main universe, New 52, I would 100. Okay. Detective, I'm summarizing this. And Tevia, that's different because most of the Marvel characters are people that are susceptible to bullets. Stop applying Marvel roles. Stop applying Marvel rules to DC characters because that's how we got the crappy Superman suit.
By the way, if we play out the situation, where Steve tries to shoot Superman. He's not going to dodge it at first because he doesn't know they're kryptonite. He's going to think they're going to bounce right off of them. So his first volley of bullets are going to hit Superman.
Let's go back.
After that, it's kind of up in the air because he'll know they're there, but at the same time he has to be affected by kryptonite. So
yeah, but in terms of creatives, I do agree with you, Teladia, that if let's put it this way, if they're going in that direction for story wise with the new 52. I do agree that at least have some of the creatives that were behind the original new 52 in charge, like as on the story team. Like, obviously, do an actual reboot if you're doing a reboot. Don't do what Gunn's doing. Everything starts fresh. But you have these guys that were part of the initial push for that initiative because they were part of why that sold. And yes, Charles Soule has to be a story advisor for the Superman Wonder Woman movie. There's like no way they're not doing that. I think that DC should have more people that respect comics. Yeah, there were a lot of non-powered heroes. See, here's the problem with that. Steve and Lois have gotten to the point where their brands are weak. So even if they're written well, people won't show up. But there's the point. I don't get it. Why didn't they add Jeremy Adams for his movie in the universe? Because Gunn is only adding people he likes. That's why. It's ego, Tavio, because I agree with you. Jeremy Adams should be in charge of this, like at least on the Green Lantern side, but Gunn's not going to do that because he's allergic to smart ideas. No, Scott Lobdell, he shouldn't. I never said Scott Lobdell, but okay.
But it's like I said, like I said, the New 52, the original New 52 before it got changed. I think those people, if they were to help James Gunn, in terms of like story-wise and fleshing out the characters, in terms of like for different movies like the Supergirl and Superman and Batman, so to say, right? And the Bat Family, it can work. Even introducing Wonder Woman, obviously we've had a Wonder Woman origin story before, right?
Don't do another origin. I say the first Wonder Woman movie in our universe has to be modern day. Enough past Wonder Woman stories.
Yeah. But I just feel like I just feel like if you're having these people like Scott Snyder, Jim Lee, Grant Morrison, and also having what's his name, Charles, I can't pronounce his surname. Sorry. I can't pronounce his
who?
For Superman Wonder Woman comic, I can't pronounce his
Charles Soule.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I mean, and geek defense. The difference between us having comic people on the story team and what DC did with Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns was in charge of everything. None of these people, no one person is in charge. What we're saying is that on the story team that basically outlines, okay, so which stories and which movies they want to tell, have some of the comic book writers on there because they have either written these stories or written these characters before, and they can like it be a check to ensure that the characters are respected and not treated like Peacemaker.
Agreed.
I want to wonder. Yes, this should be the point there. Take the concepts from the Perez run that worked and bring them into the modern day, because you could easily do that. Still be modern day, but you could 100% adapt the Perez run.
In my Wonder Woman movie, I want to see a recreation of the scene of the Amazons swimming out to the ship to meet the sailors.
Oh God, you know what that leads to, Nick?
What does it lead to?
So that was controversial in the New 52 because the Amazons drugged the men, had their way with them, and then killed them. That's how they reproduce in the New 52 comics.
Yeah.
Tavia, he was fully in charge of the DCEU. He was. They put him in charge of it. Maybe, but I'm not saying all comic book people. I'm saying have at least like 3 or 4 on there and 3 or 4 like movie people. That way you have an equal. You have equal on the perspective. No one person. And obviously there's one person in charge that makes all decisions, but he has to listen to all of the like people on the board. And it has to be people that have actually sold stuff, because Tom King, his comics don't reach aren't like widely regarded, despite he has a small fan base. The writer of The Flash is on the DCU team, and Birds of Prey. I'm sorry, no, that's not working.
I think if we're talking like a council of advisors, Jeff Loeb should be on there.
Yes, I do agree with you on that, particularly on the Batman team.
Like, I don't think Jeff Loeb should be running DC, but he is good in an advisor capacity. Yes,
exactly. 110%, I think so. But because in other words, advisory, because I don't want him to say, let's do an ultimatum, let's put ultimatum, but for DC. And I'm like, nope.
I will say this, though. He did run the Netflix Marvel side, and I think he did a pretty decent job with that.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be easier for the Amazon to just get dolled up and hit a club for a night? Yeah, but what? How do they do it without them leaving the island? So there is that.
They'll hit up. They have an invisible B-52 bomber that they stole during World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then they do that, and they fly to a nearby cornfield, and then they go hit up the clubs.
Yeah, exactly. So
what have I said?
Mm-hmm. So all in all, so let me see. So let's briefly summarize this. It's a team. It's a mixed bag team. That's what you need to do, because otherwise you're just gonna one side's gonna win out, and that leads to both of the scenarios that we are encountering here. And it has to be based on merit and what sells. It can't be what the one person's a fan of, i.e. James Gunn, who's only hiring people that he's a fan of. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up now, I think. So, Nick, where can one find you, and what have you got coming on your channel?
All righty, then. You can find me on Twitter at The Phoenix Press. YouTube, there's the same. In about a half an hour, I will be streaming some Fallout New Vegas over on my YouTube. Feel free to hop there and join me. Also, if you can, on Indiegogo, I have Turret Samurai issue 4 currently for sale. If you could grab that, I would be most appreciative. And then, as always, got Rewatch on Monday, Comics Watch on Wednesday, and Jared, you suck.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Teladia, how about you?
So as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Teladia Plays _, and you can check me out on YouTube at Teladia Plays. As for what I got coming up on my channel is next week, I'm going to be doing a Summer Game Fest video talking about my predictions for the comic book side of it. What sort of comic book video games could we see? And also, I'm going to be doing a collab with JJheat as we talk about Sparking Zero, because that's also something that we're going to talk about and make our predictions for that. And also we're going to be doing Snyder Fans Read Comics with Jared from Comics League as we talk about issue 14?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
issue 14. Yeah, we'll talk about issue 14 where it's Super Cheetah taking on the Justice League. I think that's a great title to go for.
Actually, yeah, go with that. So as for me, Britt and I are going to be recording Super Wonder Legacy, where we talk about Justice League: The New Frontier, both the cartoon and the movie. The comic and the movie, and then we're also going to be reviewing Blood of Zeus. So that's really fun. As for commentary, I'm still figuring out what I want to do with that. Again, like I said last time, like I said earlier, Halo 400 Dawn is next week's movie night, and you can find it on actually YouTube for free, so it's not like you have to stream it anywhere. I'll send you guys the link later to for the movie. And yeah, just hanging out and streaming with you all. So stay heroic, everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and bye-bye. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs with General Zod. Zoe is a Max about for life. See you later.